Good morning, afternoon, evening, wherever, however you are joining us. This is the I Speak Jeep podcast presented by SFJ4x4.com. My name is Neil.
You sure?
I am very sure. Of Simpson Family Jeeps. And I am joined in Grandma's Couch Studio by these two gentlemen.
Scott,
Questionable?
First of all, you're just holding up your hands to the SFJ 4x4
Well,
logo on
He
your
was just
sweater.
holding up to
trying.
his left breast. So our listeners at home can enjoy our comedy. I don't know. I looked over at Scott, and he's just
At first, it looked like he was trying to hold a baby. Then he was repositioning, and he was
Well,
holding.
it's been a minute for that.
So exactly.
I
looked
don't know
over,
what was going on.
I looked over, and I thought, why is he holding the baby?
The only thing I can think is he was trying to show off his nameplate, but he was on the wrong side of the hoodie.
That happens.
So
The
anyway,
worst.
I'm Jeff Shermani,
Are you sure?
The Italian stallion, the producer.
and you are.
I am mad scientist Scott Brown, assembler of clutch linkage this morning.
And minor in-house painting. So once again,
He's going to be feeling great.
He's going to be fired up. We know how well his vocabulary increases when he paints.
Don't smell a thing.
And to kick off the comments, I do see that Joe O'Brien is our first one in the comments saying good morning. So
Yep,
good
Joe's
morning,
got
Joe.
first. Good
Yep.
morning. And it's valuable to to remind our listening body at home that if you are able, that you can join us every Monday at 10:19 a.m. Live on the Book of Faces, and you too can jump into the comments and share and cohort with us. Or obviously, we appreciate that you do the downloads, and while you drive or fly or commute or whatever it is that you're doing while listening, we really value your investment in us and making this program worthwhile.
Well, and also, just to tease what's going on today, we're going to be talking today about Jeep summer maintenance and prep. And then next week, we're actually going to be doing a Q&A session. So if you've got questions about Jeeps, definitely, or even about us personally, feel free to ask those questions. We're not going to guarantee we'll answer all the personal questions, but we'll try.
We're gonna do gloves off Q&A.
Gloves
I've
off.
got questions for Scott.
Oh, boy.
Jeez.
So anyways, send those questions in ahead of time to my email, Jeffc at sfj4x4.com, so that we can start putting those questions together and answer those live on air. Additionally, you can jump into the comments and just ask us questions during the live next week.
That is the goal. We're not promising to read all of the comments in the live feed, but we are encouraging your participation. Come with questions. I know that oftentimes on the social pages, people are asking about, what size lift for that, what size tires here, what winch blah, steel versus synthetic. And we're not saying we're going to get in and do a full 45-minute tirade on it, but we do want to try and help address some of those lingering questions you might have. Or maybe you want to know what Scott's favorite flower is, or his favorite moon rock. I don't know.
Oh, dear.
At least point you in the right direction as we answer the questions.
For sure. And it is valuable to know that you can always text us directly at 440-855-2100. 440-855-2100. That's our text-only number, and there is almost always somebody willing to respond to that so that, we can help address, whatever's going on with your Jeep and get you on the schedule or get you the parts you need, whatever it might be. So reach out to us as needed.
Chuck, that's a great question for next week. We'll talk about it next week. Amy says good morning as well.
Good morning, Amy. I'm so glad to see Chuck around and in his meeting. Obviously, we're having a meeting with Chuck today, and we absolutely need to put 43s on your Jeep, Chuck. I'm 100% here for it. So, anywho, what's going on in your guys' world? How was the weekend for you?
Go ahead, Scott. You go first this time.
So I continued cutting apart very expensive fenders to try to make them more like factory, and realized
Were these not factory fenders?
they were welded together. They were originally 4 pieces, and someone decided to make them 2 pieces. And the challenge is
You bought them as 2 pieces.
you can't assemble the car the proper way. So, and they obviously weren't worried about that. So lots of. I've been fighting this for a long time, so I finally gave up.
You knew this was coming.
I was trying to put it off. I was trying to make it work, but it doesn't work. So anyway, I gave up on that, and quickly realized that 90-year-old parts have been through some stuff. So the parts I bought, no fault to the guy that sold them to me, have some challenges. So I'm probably cutting them to pieces, cutting my original ones that I cut off to pieces, and welding them all back together.
So these are not the fenders that came on the car when you purchased the car.
They are. Then I cut them into pieces, and I bought 2 more, so I didn't have to refurb the ones that were off the car. And they are one is got so many pits that you can see a star pattern through it, and the other one has been smushed.
When people that we build their Jeeps with them, talk about the trials and tribulations, it is because, and why we are particularly suited to address them is because we do this stupid stuff ourselves.
Yes.
I mean, you got 4 different sets of fenders, all of which you've cut off and cut in different manners.
So the ones I bought not that long ago, if you're on my Insta, you will saw me being, yay, I got these, and then I actually go to foot them on the car, and I realized that the one that was it was honestly in really nice shape brush wise, is at least 1/4 of an inch too narrow.
Huh.
Because there's a lot of intersection points. You have the headlight, you have the grill, you have the other fender, you have the bumper, you have the horn grill. There's a lot going on, and trying to figure out why it didn't fit. And I slowly taking dents out, that kind of stuff, and fit it up there, and it was starting to fit the grill good, but we're still 1/4 of an inch away from the headlight. So I've had a friend. You
got
guys
a metal stretcher.
You'll love this. He's like, take it off the car, put it on the floor, upside down, and step on it. Which is honestly a valid response in auto body world.
Yep.
You shut bricks indoors or 2x4s indoors, and that's normal. So I did that, and it made it a little better, but it's still not. I'm being too picky, but it is what it is. So I'm gonna cut it apart and use the part where I cut the.
This is why our projects last so long.
Yeah, that's why I'm going on 5 years. But anyway, that's where I had to cut it off the fender. I cut into this panel to save the fender because the fender is more expensive. So this little fender extension is what they're actually called. I'm going to cut off the damaged bent one and weld that back onto my factory one. So now it will appropriately have the flange to bolt up. So if you want to see more, go over to Instagram 1936 Ford Crazy, and you can watch the drama unfold.
Drama unfold. If you love that meticulous metal work, right?
Yep.
And just to say good morning, Keith. Good morning.
Good morning, Keith. So Jeffrey, anything light your world on fire?
So I have a fun story for you guys because being Cinco de Mayo, I didn't even place it, but I went to buy beer yesterday, mostly for our upcoming trip to Iowa, for our camping trip.
Okay.
I walk into the store to buy beer. I have bought beer at the store many times over the years. I've never once been carded in the store. A young cashier, not old enough to ring it up, calls over the manager. Manager comes walking over. This is typical at the store. Is what it is. Manager comes walking over and goes, "Do you have your ID?" "Sure." Pull it out.
Well, it is because you're maybe 22, freshly 22.
So that's what I thought too. So I hand him my license. He looks at my license. His head jumps back. His eyes bulge out of his head. He goes, "I didn't realize you were that old. I'm sorry." And hands my license back. And I went, "Thanks."
Thank you. Do I say thank you?
What? I have not seen that reaction on somebody carding me yet, and I was thrown off. I'm like, I didn't think I was that old, but okay.
Not realize you're that old.
Wow.
Is that because you don't have the gray in your beard?
I don't know if it's that or if it's that he saw the one on the year. I don't know what it was.
Wow.
The reaction just caught me off guard completely, and I just had to chuckle.
You didn't know you were from the 1900s?
Correct.
From the
That's exactly what the reaction was. So anyways, that happened. But more importantly, and more of the DIY type community type stuff, we did build our own decked system for the back of my Jeep.
Not sponsored. Decked. Please don't send us a letter. He didn't build a deck. He built a platform.
I built a platform. I'm calling it my DIY decked because
Well, that's a fun.
I don't-
way to call it.
I don't
That's
want to
a-
buy a deck system specifically because I'm not going to
use it that frequently.
that frequently.
Yeah.
This is specifically so that we have a place to put a oversized tent in the bed of a short bed pickup truck, wannabe.
Right.
So it is literally designed to angle the tent into it and then have a flat surface over the wheel wells that allows us to also use this as a makeshift road trip bed.
Mm-hmm.
So kind of a multi-purpose thing done with 2x4s and plywood.
And do we see pictures of it yet?
It is on Discord, so if
For our
you
Patreons.
wanted to join Patreon and check that out, it's on there. Nothing too special. I didn't paint it or anything. Just literally built it, put it in there, and making it happen.
I think for our longtime listeners, they will appreciate that when you do your family Iowa trip, there is almost always some shenanigans that happen.
Yeah.
In conjunction.
Oh yeah.
Similarly, Scott and your wife do a family camping trip.
Yes.
It's interesting. My family was never into that. Now, we do the Outer Banks ish, but very different than what your guys' experience have been. But you didn't necessarily grow up doing that, did you?
I did not.
Did Jeffrey?
I did.
You did.
Yeah,
okay.
I
so
did.
You got together
Oh
as
yeah.
a
We've
family.
we've been
and-
camping at Cook's Forest, Kinzoo.
But would you meet up with extended family at those locations?
We have. I mean, we did trips down in RVs down to Florida as a kid, and
a
the Carolinas.
a group family RV trip when I was like 5.
Yeah.
I mean, I get that. But I'm fascinated. It's an interesting part of a number of families or groups that they'll do like a reunion, if you will, at a campground or something.
Yeah, and
It's
that's
interesting.
literally what her family tries to do in Iowa is they meet up in Iowa and do a family thing. This year it's going to be smaller. It's not going to be as many people there at the campsite, but still just go back so she can see some of her family and friends from Iowa and her parents. Her dad is driving up from Texas where they currently live, and then she's going to take our kids down with them. I'm actually just going to be there a couple days and come back, but she's going to go with her dad and our kids down to Texas to visit with her mom and her grandfather.
I
for a few
love
days.
that about America. Honestly, our ability to get out on the road, and I think that's one of the things that I love so much about our Jeeps specifically, is they make so many aspects of American culture available to us, right? When we can go to cities, we can go to the country, we can go camping, we can pull a trailer, we can head to the lake, we can do just about anything and just go see the world. I love that.
Well, and I think at this point, I'm just going to give a shout out to anyone with a Gladiator that wants to travel to Iowa because her dad is driving his Mojave up from Texas, and I'm driving mine across, and we're meeting in Iowa. So,
Oh boy, it's an impromptu JT Gladiator meet and greet. Jeff is sponsoring.
Try not to flex on them too hard with your 37s this year.
yeah, I definitely have that on them. So going into the comments, Giaga Jeeper saying good morning.
Good morning.
Joe O'Brien is saying just for men works good.
I might be there, Joe. I don't know.
And then Amy saying she grew up camping.
Yep. And just Giaga Jeepers, we were intending to wear our Bricks and Sticks shirts.
We have them
We
here.
have them. We have them on set even, which again was a big shout out to them and their event that's coming up in Andover here soon. We just simply ran out of time to throw the shirts on over the hoodies.
No costume changes today.
No costume changes, but we do have them on set, and we will, reference that event that will be coming up this summer.
Where's Davey? Davey can come over here and do a costume change on air.
Oh, Davey, get in here, buddy.
He's putting the headphones on.
Yeah,
He's ignoring us.
He's going to ignore us.
And then Amanda's saying good morning, guys, as
Good
well.
morning, Amanda. So we are going to be talking about summer maintenance today. I'll just, quick on me is just I didn't stop moving this weekend, and I had a very positive experience with that. Still working very much on the house. The challenge with this time of year is property maintenance. So on top of trees and bushes and flowers and gardens, on top of building the house and whatnot. So
Yeah. Did you get all your $2,000 worth of trees planted?
we did get all the trees put in the ground. Yeah, that was
Yeah.
actually last weekend. We did that in kind of a.
Oh, you did it that quick. I didn't realize you had it done last
Oh
weekend.
yeah, we got it done that that night,
I thought it was just picking them up and getting it lined up. I didn't realize you had already planted them too.
Nope. We actually, my wife and I, it's a fun project to do, and involve her and the kids and whatnot. Well, it's really her project, and she's involving me, honestly. But we ran string line, measured off the road frontage, ran string line, got everything marked out.
Nice.
And honestly,
Paced out the spacing between each tree.
we actually measured on the dot.
Nice.
Think about how particular and anal we can be here with work, and that is how I approached putting trees in the ground. Now,
Did you soil test first?
Yep,
that's a yes.
I made sure that we bought a very specific. Listen. I never thought I would spend that much money on trees. Let's be honest, and so. Because I was always just like, oh, there's like a maple tree shoot. I'm going to shove that in the ground. And my wife is like, I need this special hybrid tree to do a windscreen and a light screen. All right, cool, whatever. I'm going to make sure these things last to the best of my ability. But no, we actually measured out a strung line, full measurement, center line of property, or at least driveway, measured off so that the trees to the driveway are symmetrical going out from there.
Nice.
The whole shooting match. Now, with that said, I had to reserve the crazy that makes me me, and we let the kids plant the orchard. So I had actually gone up there and I had measured the placement of the orchard and the trees. We had about 10 different fruit trees. And so we're starting this the orchard rows. If you were to drive past, don't judge me for the orchard because we let the kids put them in the ground. I'll just say that. They had a great experience. They can say they contributed to the property. And I just have to deal with, trees being 10 inches this way and a foot that way and one that's a foot longer that way. And it is what it is.
Daddy Jeep's in the comments saying good morning. And that actually kind of reminded me, there was one other big update for us and for those that have followed along with Xander's eye injury.
Yeah.
He actually now has a realistic prosthetic eye for that and turned out really good.
Looks great.
We do have to go back for one more appointment. The eye color, according to the doctor, was a little bit off, and he wants to adjust the eye color on it in a future visit. But additionally, his eye keeps turning sideways. So we got to go back for some fitment stuff. But otherwise, it looks amazing.
I was there. I really wanted it to be an 8-ball or maybe a little SFJ 4x4 logo.
I'm there for the fun stuff, but the guy doing the prosthesis was very specific for insurance and payment and all of that. The first one is going to be the realistic, make it look real, make him feel like he's got a good eye again. And then from there, we can explore fun options.
Yeah, good for.
And Xander really wanted the realistic too. He specifically wanted that first.
Yeah, absolutely. That makes sense. All right, we're going to get into summer maintenance and what that may mean for you as a Jeep owner of all varieties of Jeeps.
I thought it might be fun to do what we each do for summer maintenance and then what you actually should do for summer maintenance.
Ooh, good call.
Man, that's funny because I was thinking about that as I rode around on Lucy the lawnmower over the weekend, because Lucy the lawnmower is 12 years old, and she was a special order tractor, and this was at the end of the Craftsman Sears. I don't even know if Craftsman makes a tractor. I mean, they're all kind of owned by a conglomerate, MTD or something. But this was when
their engines are all pretty much Briggs and Stratton or one other company
or
at this
Kohler,
point.
Right, which is fine with me, I actually special ordered the Briggs and Stratton particular motor in this. I actually went to the Sears back when they actually had viable Sears stores.
Did you flip through the catalog?
I actually went on to, like, people go on to Jeep's, like, Jeep.com. I went on to like a Craftsman tractor builder site.
That's awesome.
And so there was a catalog, but I actually went to the site and built my tractor, and then I took it in with like a build sheet to the local Sears store, and I was like, I want to order this tractor, you know? So I was driving Lucy this weekend, and she is beat up. I have used her hard, but I've performed regular maintenance, which is more than I can say about you for sure, Scott, who has just ridden yours hard and put them away wet regularly.
Yep.
And I got
Do you at least put yours away?
I pulled it in the shed for the last time and shut it off
Uh,
last fall, and then this spring I'd put it on choke and hit the key and started mowing immediately. So it's fine.
and that's I've got
I didn't even put it away this year, but whatever.
Well, you know what? Mine sat out behind the shop this whole winter, and it literally
Fires right up.
It did fire right up. And you know what? The worst part is, like, what makes me psychotically me, I knew it. I'd wake up in the middle of the night and be like, Lucy, the lawnmower's sitting out behind the shop. You know, like, I just, oh my goodness. I can't shut it off. But I thought I lost my hydrostatic transmission. I was really, really sad. And it started acting all goofy, and I thought I lost my hydrostatic transmission. I think what happened was that there was debris that got up in the drive belt to the transmission, and so the belt was slipping past the drive pulley for it. But I have actually serviced my hydrostatic transmission, both fluid and filter.
Nope.
That's a thing?
Yes, that's a thing. All right, so we're going to talk about what
Are we
going to
be the right ones to talk about summer maintenance?
No, we're not. Our customers are 10 times better than us.
Oh, boy.
Just understand that if you are listening and you are a paying customer, that you have supported us, understand we know the right thing to do because we choose the wrong path constantly.
Well, and we do the right thing on your vehicles. It's just then we'd never take the time to do it on ours.
It's taking the time to do it to ourselves, right? And I swear, and this one of the things that I've always talked to our customer base specifically, our enthusiasts and friends and customers, and they go, well, I used to do this stuff, or I'd really like to do this. And that's one of the things that attracts people to the Jeep community, is the idea that there is a tangible DIY aspect of maintaining your vehicle. They're a little easier to work on than, say, that Nissan Sentra or something. But a lot of people go, I just don't have the time to make this a priority, and you guys touch Jeeps every day, and you know what the best course of action is. I get that. I think the biggest challenge we have is not a desire to maintenance our vehicles, but the prioritization of time.
Yeah.
Because obviously the person who's coming to us is going, hey, I value what you guys do. I am just unable or unwilling to put that time, energy, and effort into it. And so therefore, I know that this is my best course of action.
Yeah.
I was literally, I have a leaf blower, steel leaf blower, and the carburetor, I think it's like one of my idle circuits, the injector, the nozzle. I can't full throttle on this little leaf blower. And years ago, I would have cracked open the carburetor. I certainly know that I grew up watching my grandfather throw, an old ratty weed whip or blower or something up on the workbench, tear into things, and go to town. At this point in time, I seriously considered, at the end of the day yesterday, going, I wonder who can rebuild the carb in my leaf blower. Like, I will pay somebody to maintenance my leaf blower, because of that time and energy investment.
Yep.
So what is your routine, sir, if you have the time and energy?
This is going to be riveting. So
God.
So mad scientist prepping for summer. If the Freedom panels come out once or twice, you get the fluid film out and you wipe the seals lovingly. You talk sweet nothings to the Jeep while you do that. Otherwise, you turn the little button that says AC on. You press that.
Holy cow.
You roll the windows up.
Do you at least change your filters?
What?
Oh, boy.
Well, that doesn't matter if it's summer or winter because it's the same basic thing. If it needs it, I just do that.
That's true.
And if it needs an oil change, I do that. And if it needs a tire rotation, I do that. It does not matter to me if it's summer air or winter air.
You don't care about summer air?
Summer air? You don't care about
well,
summer
other
air
than
versus
I
winter
turn
air?
I turn from heat coming out the vents to ice cubes coming out the vents. Now, just because I feel I have to, because Amy's not here to do it. Now, the process for Snowflake, on the other hand, is remove the hardtop, remove the full doors. Do not put them in the dirt. Don't do that.
Oh my God. Okay. I love the fact that
I'm gonna
we're
go
all
with you
gonna-
did that.
I love the fact that we're gonna differentiate the maintenance that we perform on our own pieces of junk
Yeah.
versus the maintenance that we do for our wives.
100%.
Because that is exactly what I was thinking over here.
Oh
And then,
boy.
Then we check all the fluids, air pressure. I've already wiped hers off with detailer and tried to care for the paint once already. It's literally just been out not that long ago. So hers gets the whole shooting match. And then most of the time she doesn't drive it. Not because she doesn't want to, because of time and all the other things we've talked about.
Kids and
Kids
and that
kind of
work and
stuff.
take the top off, and now it's sitting
But-
with car seats or boosters.
And
exposed.
honestly, it allows me to be the curmudgeon I am and not take my stuff all off, because if I want to drive a topless Jeep, just go get in the CJ7. It's cooler anyway. So
it is cool.
yeah, so I just leave mine in winter mode 24/7. Pretty
Winter
much.
mode. This is why Scott was like,
I'm
he
a
is a
hardtop guy.
Cherokee owner. He was a
Oh, yeah.
hardtop guy. Yeah. He had a soft top for a brief moment and hated every minute of it.
I had the honeymoon phase where it was really cool, as a young person, put the top down, drive around. And I'll never forget, we went somewhere, it was way before kids, go to someone's house and the sun goes down. We're like at a fire or something, we're enjoying summer life. And we're like, okay, now it's cold and the dew's coming in. I really want to put the top up. And the top was like, nope,
Not moving.
I have
not
frozen.
stretching. Yep.
where I am. And I was like, crap.
Yep.
It totally took all the fun and joy out of the top.
I get
experience.
more thrill out
Enjoy.
of that personally.
Yeah, that's fine.
I'm with you.
That
I'm with
Lee's in the comments saying advantages of having more than one Jeep. And
Exactly.
that is true.
That if there was ever a program where we encouraged poor decision making out of our listeners
Yes.
and enthusiast friends and customers, just keep adding to your collection,
Yes.
because realistically, if one's out of fuel, you just go grab another one.
100%.
If the top is down and you've got it covered, just go grab a different Jeep.
If you can't find the keys to something, you just go get another
Oh
one.
my God,
How many
I-
times have you done that, Scott?
I don't want to talk about
I love the limo. I keep the keys in the limo for the most part.
it.
And
Terrible for that.
and so I have found myself where the key rack to our where the apartment that we're staying, the duplex we're staying while we build the house, it's on the second floor, and sometimes the dog is at the top of the stairs and I don't want to fight with him and I want to go back into the house, so I'll just like, oh, keys are in the limo. I'll just take the limo to the grocery store. Constantly.
Daddy Jeep is saying different tools for different jobs.
Like the limo going to the grocery store.
Yep.
Seems perfectly legit
Yep.
to me. So, Jeffrey, do you want to share
Sure.
your maintenance, or you want me to jump in?
So I'm obviously a soft top guy. The summer maintenance that I did this year specifically is first take the top completely off instead of just folding it back
Preferably before
right before a storm, and then I washed out the interior of the Jeep. It's true story. This just happened.
It's
Yeah.
clean
But-
now. It's
but-
fine.
No. So what I did was I took a can of fluid film and I sprayed down the zippers on the Conestoga wagon and make sure that those were all moving fluidly. I did fluid film in to the doors, the hinges, so that I can pop the doors on and off smoothly. Make sure that that's not an issue. I had all four doors off and back on with fluid film just to make sure.
Mm-hmm.
And climbed underneath, greased up the long arm joints, and made sure that that was good to go. So just some of that general, making sure all things are prepped and ready to go, so that I don't have to worry about anything sticking or jamming on me. The nice thing about the JT soft top is there's no zippers on that,
Yep.
so it makes that a lot less maintenance. So I do appreciate that part
For
of it.
the newer Jeeps, the JLJT,
It's so easy.
the soft top, and it's funny to be a fly on the wall of those groups and listen to the complaints that they lodge out at
I'll
the
never
the
understand
industry.
the complaints on the tops of these. They are the easiest tops we've ever had.
And realistically, as an industry, I feel like I want to take a moment and like take that JTJL customer who's complaining and like introduce them to a CJ2A soft top
Oh man,
or an 80s CJ or YJ soft top, and be like,
That will give you religion.
That'll it'll give you religion. You will have a religious experience. You will understand and appreciate your JL and JT. People are like, it's so drafty or noisy, and I'm thinking, you had to yell when dealing with your passengers back in the day.
Yeah.
You got a shower as you drove.
Yeah, it was part of the novelty of the experience.
And you knew when it got cold because the water became more solid as it hit you.
Yeah, it became more solid. Oh, gracious.
Oh, I guess the other part of that is finding your mirrors for doors off.
That's a great one.
Mine are on the
Stop
doors.
it. You're the worst.
I literally
You're a terrible Jeep owner. Go buy a truck.
So last week before last week before we went to Cleveland, I took the doors off and we started driving to Cleveland, and I'm like, I don't have any mirrors. So we get back, and I dug them out and cleaned them up and got those put on. And
got all the way to
and,
Cleveland.
and then 2 days later, it started storming while I still didn't put anything back on the Jeep. So,
Yeah, I get it. I get it. That's too funny. I just as a side note, and you two probably are well aware that I have endeavored to put the cheap Jeep together.
Mm-hmm.
And made that
we saw hints.
we
saw
know
hints.
we know what's happening.
Hints, and
I think you need to put pictures of that up on Patreon of how it currently looks with what you just did.
I will. I wish I would have taken some other pictures of it. And I actually, and I'll probably start to talk about it a little bit more as we go, because what I'm really kind of hoping to do is to just run it topless all summer. Just let it
regardless of rain or snow in Ohio. You never know.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is I'm trying to get to the point where it's a relatively reliable starting moving Jeep. The Jeep I picked up for cheap because nobody wanted it, but the frame is solid enough, and it needs a bunch of other things that I'm adept at doing, or in one way or the other.
First of all, I am not. Davey just sent me a picture of it. I am not putting that on air. If you're a Patreon, you'll get to see it, because this picture makes that look really cool.
It makes it look
Holy
really cool.
cow.
Right. I know. I actually got a compliment.
That is not.
I got a compliment on it this morning
That
already.
looks too good for what it actually is.
Yeah.
Right. So
go on Patreon, and we'll have the picture up later today.
We'll put it up on there. So I'll be absolutely forthright. I paid $500 for the Jeep from a friend and customer. And the value is in the frame to me, realistically. Now, we've used some other parts and pieces because in true Neil fashion, it needed to sacrifice itself to the greater good. But Chuck Norris getting hit in the tail did do more damage than I'd like to admit. And so I need to get to the point where I can take a look and see what has actually happened to it. Before we can right that wrong. With that said, that left me with the limo, which is fun, but not
practical.
Not practical per se.
The International.
It's a crew cab semi truck.
Also fun,
but not practical. And honestly, the biggest motivating factor was that my dog hates driving in the big rig, the big International. He likes the back of the Jeep. Whatever, just makes him, he's old, and so it's where he gets to be. So for my summer maintenance so far on this thing, and it's important to note, things got like a rod knock in the engine. It's a little 2.5. It clatters like it's an old diesel tractor. Has been trying to ensure that I have oil pressure, because I'm a little concerned about that. So I have summer oil in it at this point. What that might mean for some of the folks at home, because it is an older vehicle, is a heavier weight oil than the manufacturer would have originally recommended. Now, for those of you, listening at home, you may remember all these kind of debates back in the day of 5W30, 5W40, or 10W40. There was 10W30. There was a whole bunch of different oil viscosities.
You haven't lived until you've gotten a 2050.
Ooh, 2050. You got no rod journals at that point.
You're just adding clearance back in when you're doing it.
Put
the bearings back in.
So understand, when we're talking about summer maintenance, we're talking about things that are typically subjected to greater heat issues swelling, just kind of natural thermodynamic issues, weather related. Obviously, Jeffrey's talking about taking the doors on and off. This has half doors on it, so I'm not particularly worried about taking the doors on or off. It's actually kind of
Take 'em
nice.
off completely at this point and leave them off.
And I might.
I mean, they are such a short half door though that you could literally just step into the Jeep and not have to worry about the door. So.
Okay, so here's
So it happened. Okay.
So here's one of the peculiar things, just kind of sharing my own experience. Because in Chuck Norris, I have the fuse for the dome light pulled. That when I open the door, the dome light basically only comes on for like 2 seconds, and then it goes off immediately. Whereas last night I was finishing something up here, and I walked out, and it was dark, and I opened the little half door, and the whole interior illuminated. And I was like, it's like a real vehicle. Like, that's amazing,
Oh boy.
And that only happens in this era of TJ if you have the
door connected.
The door connected.
Yeah.
Or you're Scott and you put a switch in there for that, which you now have. So you have no excuse on Chuck Norris.
Ouch.
Ouch.
So
right?
back to the comments real quick. Joe Brilla had said he's got 2 Jeeps. They're both in the shop, so they're driving a rental.
It is what it is.
Yep. Jaga Jeeper saying I'm at 3 now. It might lead to marital issues.
If he gets more, right?
And then Lee is saying, "What is this practical you speak of?" Well, that's the problem. Nothing that Neil owns is practical at this point. And then Joe's saying STP.
That's for the or Motor Honey, right?
Yeah.
You know, the practicality is for people who have a moderate life. You know, like I'm not here for that. I wanna be off in my corner doing crazy stuff. You know, so. With that, we've got a heavier weight oil in the little TJ. The cheap Jeep is what I'm referring to it as. Obviously, you guys talk about tire pressure. So the way that our tires or your tires at home, folks, typically work is that the air within the tire will ebb and flow with the environmental air as well.
Yep.
So if you were set at 30 PSI cold in the winter, your tires may warm up to 32 or 33 PSI as you drive and operate the vehicle. Now that the environmental conditions are such that the whole world is warming up, the pavement you might park on, the ground in general.
You might start at 33 now.
You might start at 32 or 33.
It's a good opportunity to go back in and adjust your pressure down.
I think that is a great thing. One of the most simple things you can do is just ensure that your air pressure, so the joke of summer air and winter air is actually not that far off, right?
Right.
And the idea of adjusting your air pressure is such for the longevity and the best wear possible for your tires, because as that pavement is hotter, then that rubber warms up, it wears out faster. So if you are overinflated already and it gets hotter and you're driving on hot cement or pavement, it'll actually wear out that tire faster. So those of you who are in more urban environments using a Jeep regularly, you might want to be very conscientious of your tire pressure.
Yep.
It's just something super simple, but valuable nonetheless. As I was mentioning, the oil as an older engine, in the winters, back in the day, I would switch to a thinner oil, so a more viscous oil, lighter weight, so like a 530 back in the day. Now, there's a whole conversation where I get very pedantic on oil and friction modifiers. It's just valuable to say that in the summer, I like to run a thicker oil. In the winter, I like to run a thinner oil. This particular Jeep, I don't think is long for the world if I drive it in the winter. So realistically speaking, if it makes it through the summer, I think that will be pretty much the best.
I think once you get it through the summer, you need to just go bash it off some rocks somewhere and see if you could jump it, do whatever.
Only after I get all my TJ parts I need. That you can do with what you will.
I know. I don't want to damage that frame. It's actually,
I know that is a good frame.
That's the redeeming piece, and we know how valuable TJ frames are in society right now.
Yep.
So, antifreeze, coolant, engine coolant, right? This is simple, but if you were driving 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago, you will recognize how valuable having coolant appropriately functioning within your system is.
Mm-hmm.
So should you run out and put some water wetter in your system, or
Oh,
what are your thoughts?
So only of that stuff is going to just band-aid over a problem you're going to have. So you want to antifreeze is just not for freezing. It also has anti-rust stuff in it. It has lubricant in it for the water pump. So back in the day, I actually had almost smacked one of my older friends because he has a really cool Model A with a really built-up flathead in it, and he admitted to me that he's had water in it for 4 or 5 years now.
Mm-hmm.
It's always in a heated garage. And I said, yes, but that's rusting the inside of that very rare motor the entire time it's sitting there because there's no anti-corrosive stuff in there. Now, we try to use good water that doesn't have minerals in it to help make it as good as it can be.
Distilled water, right?
But it's still water in a non-coated painted block. So I personally always run a mix of my preferred antifreeze and distilled water. And anything as I start, you get into this head game where you're like, in my world, I'm just putting this vehicle together. I don't want to test it. I'm going to have some leaks. I'm going to have some experience here. I have never allowed myself just put water in it because life happens.
And
Next thing you
never
know,
go back.
it's November. It's the camper that I have this anxiety every year I get it out. And you clean out all the RV antifreeze and all the water lines. You get it all ready so you can use the water taps like you're supposed to. And then towards the fall, that first freeze, I'm like watching the temperatures. Is it going to get too cold? Is it going to get too cold? Am I going to have a problem? And it like gives me anxiety. So on my classic cars or any car project, I have it apart. Nope, it's getting 50-50 mix right from the get-go. It sucks when you have a leak. Because I'm a pet owner, I try to have a non-toxic antifreeze. That's something I look for when I go purchase it. But other than that, it's getting the straight mix all the time.
And those of you who are, excuse me, having the opportunity to use your Jeeps in an off-road experience or even just going and enjoying yourself at a parade, oftentimes we are traveling slow, so you're not getting a lot of wind force through the vehicle. So we're really relying on the cooling system to be functioning at kind of peak capacity.
Yep.
Those of us who drove, again, 20, 30, 50 years ago, I was not driving 50 years ago, but I was driving 20 years ago.
Showing your age off or something?
Right? I know.
Careful,
remember,
you might surprise somebody carding you.
I can't believe you're that old.
Wasn't ready.
Maybe you're using Just for Men. You're looking so young. That's why you look 22 still.
Maybe.
So we all have these experiences. We remember the person on the side of the road, with steam coming out up underneath the hood of their vehicle, or waiting in line to go through the drive-through, or get off the exit at a concert. I specifically remember, or just traffic jam. And I remember being in a traffic jam going, oh my gosh, please don't overheat, because my system wasn't up to snuff. So it becomes even more critical for our older vehicles. But realistically, we're seeing 12 to 16 JKUs be one of the most plagued vehicles at today's standard. They just appear to be aging out. It is not one person's experience or another. It is kind of a conglomeration saying the parts, the manner in which the vehicles were used, the natural breakdown of mileage and age.
We're starting to see some of those guys pushing 160, 170, 200,000 miles on those Jeeps because they've driven them consistently since they bought them almost new. So that's what we're talking about, aging out. You don't, if you've got like a 14 that's got 40,000 miles on it because it's always been in the garage, we're not talking necessarily to you
Not
guys.
necessarily talking to you, but depending on if you've used it hard for that 40 to 80,000 miles.
That's different.
Yeah, but we have those customers within our care who you know, that Jeep only comes out and they only just use it for the most extreme manners, and those parts don't appear to be holding up, and the leaks specifically around the cooling system and the inefficiencies in cooling are creeping up on those vehicles, you know. So this is not just an older vehicle issue. Of course, it's relative. You know, there's somebody who's out there who's right now who thinks a 10-year-old vehicle is old.
Yes.
Not by our standards, obviously.
Right.
But in general. So we want to make sure the cooling system is working well for that summer maintenance piece. One of the simple things that goes overlooked in that process is your radiator cap. Depending on how old your vehicle is or your cooling system, it might just be time for a new radiator cap.
So I saw a fun thing. It made me think of this. Because I'm in the early Ford group, there's a bunch of different parts and stuff being sold, and equipment from back in the day in the mechanic shop. And there was a radiator cap tester, and it said, check your cap every 3 months. And I was like, that doesn't happen.
No.
So back in the day, just put it in perspective, they were expecting you to check the cap on your vintage car every 3 months to make sure it was functioning correctly and holding where it was supposed to be.
Isn't that fascinating?
Yes.
The things we used to have to like regularly maintenance
on a very regular situation is really crazy.
It is. Now, the other piece that I think is valuable besides the cooling system, especially like I said, off-road or parade use, is going to be your diff fluid for our Jeep owners. And the big thing is the summer brings simply more travel. It kind of goes back to that driving all over the country we're talking about. The weather has increased. There's different hazards that go with each season, obviously. But now we're towing. Oftentimes we're towing campers that we weren't towing in the winter. We are off-roading. We're doing water crossings or mud crossings. We're going to different Jeep events because now there's just a more frequency. So you find yourself running a mud bog or something. So that diff fluid is so critical to having your pinion bearings surviving, to having your axle bearings survive. The temperatures on a differential can be a couple hundred degrees basically. And that differential fluid acts as both a lubricant but also cooling and ensuring that the heat transfer in the differential isn't in a focused position. And so you're wanting to have the kind of everything kind of warm up together and cool down together. And if you're throwing sludge around in there, if you've got a heavy metal particulate, those things are going to deteriorate the lifespan. So you go off-roading and you get some sludge in there, and then all of a sudden you have a 10-hour drive to Iowa, and you hook up to Jeffrey's pirate ship of a camper. And you try to get on the road and hammer down hard. There's a very good chance that you'll smoke your axles just by the nature of how we use our vehicles.
Well, not only that, but now that you've brought oil up, engine oil too. Checking it before a long trip and after a long trip.
It's actually really important for our JTJL.
I was going to say it's.
I was going to say that's where you're going, and I shouldn't have interrupted you.
No,
but
you're
I'm
fine.
excited the fact that you're going to share this with folks.
So we literally had a customer that has a JT, drove to Arizona with a fresh oil change, and after 2,000 miles, has no oil left in the engine.
Well,
not no oil, but it was really low.
It was low, a quart and a half or so.
Yeah, but
it wasn't on the stick, right? To say that,
correct.
You pulled the stick out there. It did not. It was alarming.
It was very alarming. There's no oil leaks on the vehicle. So that being said, I literally just experienced that with mine, and I have driven all over the country with it. I've put a lot of miles on it and have aggressively done so with towing the pirate ship and things like that, and have never had an issue with the oil. I just did this oil change a week and a half ago, and I had no oil on the dipstick.
Yeah.
There was plenty of oil still in there when I drained the system. There's still plenty of oil, but there's nothing on the dipstick, and I'm going, where'd my oil go? And I had just checked it probably 2,000 miles before that, and there was still plenty of oil on the dipstick. So just in a 2,000-mile period, I lost oil.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And that's a challenge with our newer vehicles in general, as the viscous nature of the oil, it gets thinner and thinner and thinner. It is going to burn off easier and faster. Well, the specific customer in question that we're talking about who drove to Arizona and back, we actually upped his weight of oil than what the vehicle. That's under our care. There's actually a YouTube video that briefly mentions it.
Yeah.
I'm the one who's doing it at that time, talk about it.
We
And-
also went to a premium oil, too.
Well,
That's
so
arguably thinner than...
he was actually on AMSOIL. What that burn off story was with AMSOIL.
Oh, I did not realize that.
Yeah. That burn off story, and I'll just say it because I don't think that it's specifically the oil. I think it is the thinness and the construction of the engines.
Yeah.
Right. So
Without
I
question.
want our customers, I want our listeners out there to understand that if you're running Bosch or AMSOIL or Gulf or Schaefer's, this could happen in your situation.
I mean, just in general, the idea is that you just should be a little bit more or look at your vehicle more. I'm not even gonna
You need to
try.
go spray paint some
I
more?
was gonna-
It's wearing off. It's so easy to just hit the key and just keep driving and not think about all the stuff that's operating underneath you. You should just, what should I do today? Go out and check your oil. Go ahead and check over your vehicle. Check your air filter, that kind of stuff. Be proactive in that way. And it doesn't matter if you're out of CJ7 or, RJTs. You need to do that once in a while just to make sure, because it can save you thousands of dollars of problems. I'm just as bad. The rear end on the Rambler, I didn't check. It had a slow leak, and now it howls because I didn't have any oil in it. So I could have saved
you mean
myself.
my 11.5 AAM and my
Yeah.
Dodge Ram? Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, at least
We're here to tell you,
Yes,
folks,
we've done
because
it.
we have done the dumb stuff for you,
Yes.
and we want you to do better.
yes, 100%. Because it sucks in the long term when you're like, well, that was a good axle.
Yep.
And the only good thing is the Rambler's still soldiering along, just noisier.
Yep.
And I need to get underneath there soon and make sure there's oil in it. It's one of the reasons I haven't driven it that much this year already, because I need to go through and bring it into the shop, put it in the air, and check everything.
So besides oil, another component that is critical, especially with the extra hauling of the tow rigs and things like that, would be your brakes.
Yes,
Just check your brakes.
100%. And
They might surprise you how worn out they
if you're
are.
like, boy, it's been a while since I've looked at my brakes, it's time for a tire rotation. It's a perfect time to look at the brakes when those wheels are off.
Mm-hmm.
But look at the inside as well as the outside.
Oh, 100%.
Because a lot of people look at the outside and go, I'm good for a while, but the inside's gone.
Yes, because the pins are sticking.
Yep.
The big challenge is you have to think about the temperature change for
Mhm.
many of us who are north of the Mason-Dixon, and then our activity change, right? Because that's going to be the big challenge here. So you're probably going to use your 4x4 a little less with regularity. Those of you who are using it as a daily winter driver are probably using 4x4 more often. Maybe not so much in the last few winters, but more often. Whereas you're going to end up in two-wheel drive more frequently. Then you're going to show up at an off-road event. You're going to want to throw it into four-wheel drive. You got to make sure that it's actually going to engage.
Yeah.
You don't have any experience about four-wheel drive not working, do you?
Exactly. Exactly. We're here because we've done this, so that's why we're trying to share. Don't make the mistakes we made.
I just the tree stump. I'm in four-wheel drive, guys.
No,
No.
I haven't had four-wheel driving Chuck for years. I think is what it comes down to.
They thought he did.
Thought I did, yeah. Well, not the truth. So you're going to think about, temperature change and utilization, and those are going to be the big things you'll want to focus from. Again, seals and tops are incredibly important. That's something that we have to worry about that, say, other vehicles that are just a classic hardtop don't, right? And maintaining those with a light Dawn dish detergent, something like that, with a small mixture of Dawn and water, wipe them down. Once they're dry, we use fluid film. You want to use a non-silicone or petroleum-based product. Petroleum-based product will actually break down the rubber as opposed to helping moisturize and lubricate it.
It's we just literally dealt with this again this weekend. People go and they think they're getting a protectant, the classic names. I'm not going to trash anybody, but they go and they think, "Oh, this is
Armor All,
made,
I'll do it.
made for that." There it is, and I'm going to wipe everything down. And if on the back of it says that it's flammable, that's usually the oil or petroleum-based product, and that will literally eat your rubber alive. And then we're talking about tires, seals, anything like that. Sometimes flares, you can have the same thing happen. You can damage them almost permanently.
Right, because now that sun is beating down and it's pulling the oils out of the tire, it's pulling the oils out of our flares. Again, those are very specific things to certainly the flares to our Jeep market, because that's everybody always gets complains and goes, "How do my flares are so ashy? What happened?" That's because you were rubbing them down with a silicone or a petro-based product, and
the sun does it naturally as well.
Correct.
But, the things that they sell to make it better actually doesn't make it better.
Some of them, right?
Yeah.
You got to be very conscientious.
You want to
about the
use a
product you're using.
water-based product, which sadly doesn't last as long.
So the one that I think is a brief overlook, and then I put it out to our listeners at home, folks in the live. If we've missed something that you think is important, let us know. But I think that this is a really silly one that's often overlooked, especially as you get to mid-July, where it doesn't seem to be raining as much, and we've had a lot of hot, dry sun. And I'm going to say your windshield wipers need to be, you need to pay attention to them, because
Good one.
it's one of those ones that's completely neglected. But windshield wipers, if they have survived winter, that rubber is sitting on your windshield getting exceptionally hot.
Yes.
And just getting beat on. And that rubber, honestly, is not very high quality. And if you go to an off-road event in, the late summer, or there is that late summer, shower, you're going to want those to work. That's a safety piece. And I cannot tell you how many people don't attend to their summer wipers. And I'm doing air quotes because there are winter wipers and there are summer wipers. And that's not just a marketing scheme. There is a reality to it. Now, do you need to be as vigilant as those companies and marketers want you to be? No, but there is a valid reason to check your wipers seasonally, so that when you do need them, that they are going to work.
I have used to say you change your wipers twice a year, and I use the winter summer wipers just to remind me it was time to do that, almost like the smoke detector battery. But I have literally thought to myself, we almost need to do it 3 times a year anymore, because rubber just is not what it used to be.
Yep.
I am due on the JT currently, and it's definitely harder on the vehicles that come out only half the year. Those wiper blades have sat on that windshield all winter long, and now they get parked out in the sun, and you must pretty much have to go through everything and say, okay, everybody needs wiper blades once for that exact reason.
Yeah, it's a really wild thing, and it's something that we, don't often, put that much merit behind.
Yeah.
And the industry has changed. That's
Yes.
factual. 10 years ago, wipers simply lasted longer than they are currently. And it's, we have to be conscientious of that with our seasonal maintenance to say, is this something that has changed with manufacturing, with supply chain logistics, so on and so forth. And unfortunately, we are, as you guys have heard, if you listen, much in the recent 6 podcasts, we cannot complain enough about rubber in the last 5 years. As far as tires are concerned, when I say rubber, tires in the last 5 years are going to pot quickly.
I'm just going to say yes.
Anything
rubber.
rubber. I mean, you have to accept that door seals are going to leak. The top is going to leak. You can do things to minimize it, but it is going to do it.
Yeah.
Convertibles leak.
Not an if, but a when.
And something else, too, that something that we don't think about, guilty ourselves, but as you use that vehicle off-road and you twist it up more, back and forth, and that's going to open things up, and you're going to have a little bit more seepage than you used to have, just by nature. We used to think about it a lot with our Cherokees because they were frameless, spineless, so you get
Frameless and shameless.
So we would think about like, oh, when the gate wouldn't close when it's flexed up, that was cool.
Yes.
But that also meant that now there's a way for water to get in somewhere
Mm-hmm.
that it couldn't before. So that's just, again, something, you've been all over all the trails. Well, that might be why that pasture sore leaks a little bit more.
Yep, it's kind of just shifted, and it's natural ebb and flow. Now, Jeffrey mentioned this one before, but I think it's worthwhile to just kind of continue to hammer at home. It is the door pins and ensuring that your doors do come on and off, because the worst thing is when that really nice, beautiful day happens and you're going to meet some of your other Jeeper friends down at the local coffee shop or a barbecue joint or whatever it is, and you want to rip those doors off real quick, and all of a sudden you find that the pins have delaminated, and the hinge bore has delaminated, and now that door is just kind of impossible to get off. They do sell, and when they say we sell a replacement product that is a hinge liner. But in general, sometimes people take hours to get their doors off.
Yeah.
We've got it down to a little bit of a science that it doesn't take us hours and hours, but there's absolutely been plaguing our industry for decades is getting the doors off. I'm really worried about the
quality
GT,
replacement hinges are not cheap either, so
No.
take care of your hinges.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And those are really valuable things to kind of get out of the way before it comes to the point when you want to be using your Jeep for Jeep things.
I'm gonna say with the door conversation, one more point, just kind of wrap it up for us. If you're going to be traveling, know the state laws where you're going, specifically Pennsylvania. I'm calling you out with doors off. If you're gonna travel with your doors off, know that if you go into PA, you can get pulled over and get ticketed for that.
Yeah, I read it.
Personally, I'm still doing it, but as a professional, I'm telling you, know that law. Know that if you do get pulled over, acknowledge that you're in the wrong. Don't argue with the cop.
I'll make it real simple for you. State of Pennsylvania, the only Jeep that's legal to have no doors is a CJ7 and older.
Yep.
And that, why I used to tell people, look where the mirrors are. If they're on the Jeep when the door is off, you're pretty much good to go. If you took the mirror off when you took the door off, Pennsylvania will come for you at some point. And you can still do it. I'm not telling you not to, but just don't hassle the cop when he gives you grief.
Exactly.
Because you are technically in the wrong. At that point, just make nice, and hope that he lets you go home.
I think you guys did a really great, and I know I want to wrap this up, but one of the things that I specifically did with my summer maintenance routine recently was I ensured that my insurance cards and registration cards were up to date.
Yep.
I
That's a
cleaned
good
out
one.
my glove boxes so that because of exactly what you said, and I want to emphasize that, because you're going to be traveling more. It just seems to be, again, go back to that initial statement where I was talking about my love of American culture and the fact that we do get out more. You're traveling more. I clean out my glove box. I made sure that I just have most valid registration, most valid insurance card in case something does go wrong. I actually felt really good when I didn't feel good when Chuck got hit, but in the aftermath, I was able to go in and I had valid registration, valid insurance, ready to produce for the officer. Now, since then, I actually had a birthday, and so I re-upped all of that stuff. But because of that travel and knowing the laws, like our lighting laws or our tire fitment laws,
Lighting laws are another
or
good one.
the doors, as
Yeah.
you're mentioning, the things that attract us to the Jeep life is the fact that they are these big Lego erector sets, and we get to hang stuff off of them, and we get to put big wide tires, and we take the doors off, and we put these fun lights. Well, that's not always going to be permissible everywhere that we take the vehicle.
Yep.
Or you can have an officer that's actually in the wrong and thinks that you're wrong, but you're actually right. But now the attitude you show and how current all that stuff in your glove box is how good that experience is going to have, because at that moment he's right, you're wrong.
Yep.
Until proven otherwise. And one of the challenges I have is a lot of my insurance cards now are online, which I'm tech illiterate.
Well, that and not all states accept it
Right.
on the phone.
So
Some of them still require that paper form.
the last thing I need to be doing is trying to pull it up on my phone while he's staring at me, because that is a bad situation.
So that's what actually happened with me with the accident when they hit Chuck. Was I was trying to pull up my insurance information. Now, fortunately, because of it being a local, I was able to offer up my broker's name and say, you know what, they can provide you with the insurance information. They wrote that into the report. With that said, I have then since asked my insurance company, to send me hard copies, which they both sent me digitally and printed, and then they sent a packet as well. So I was doubly covered because of these things that you guys have brought up. I want to ensure that that when I am traveling, I have set myself, my family, and us as a business family up for success. So the last piece, I did all of this with our trailers as well. Check the air pressure in your trailer tires. Check the lights, those types of things, because when the opportunity presents itself and you want to be able to just kind of get in the moment and use your Jeep or travel or go camping or whatever, you want to have all that other preventable stuff addressed well ahead of time.
And that way, when you have a fun story from your road trip, it's not because of the preventable stuff. It's because of the other crazy shenanigans that just happen around you.
100%.
Amen to that. I think we end on that one, folks. We got a lot of cool Jeeps to build. Check out Jeffrey's live tomorrow. And I'm supposed to have a life in low range, but you know what? I've been a head case recently, so we'll
life
see. Life
has been in low range for him.
Yeah, it has been significantly. So we'll see what happens. But you may be looking forward to that. If you're one of our lucky Patreons, you're going to see an update on the cheap Jeep. You're going to see an update on Jeffrey's DIY deck system. The show trailer is well underway. A lot of cool things going on. Longitudinal projects. Obviously, keep your eye on Johnny Five's
And
build.
Next week? What are we doing next week?
Lies. Nope, that's on American Hustle.
That's the American Hustle, which is another good podcast you should check out. But no, the question and answers.
We're answering your questions.
Wow, Neil, dropping the ball there.
Until then, Jeep family, Jeep on.
Jeep on.
Jeep on.